Welcome. Let's inspect the Frenzy Trickster. The Frenzy Stacker archetype is known for being expensive, so just to be clear, it's not a cheap build. With Corrupted Gloves, 2 pricey rings, and the Trickster's Swift Killer, you will extend the maximum Frenzy charge limit to 11, even 12 with Sublime Vision. Frenzy charges grant 4% increased attack speed and 4% more damage each. The Frenzy attack also grants 7% more attack damage and 7% more attack speed per charge, but these grow fast alongside gem quality. That's why using Enhance and Diala's Malefaction is a great idea. The replica badge of the Brotherhood amulet causes the maximum Frenzy charge limit to be applied to endurance charges as well, providing you with a lot of elemental resistances and physical damage reduction already. The same amulet also extends your maximum Fortify limit by 1 per endurance charge. Fortify reduces all incoming hit damage by 1% per Fortify and is naturally capped at 20. The more of it you have, the more effective it is. Go for the Celestial Brace Gloves for another 10 maximum Fortify, and allocate nodes in the Steadfast cluster for a total of 47 Fortify. Frenzy grants you a lot of damage enhancements, but you still need the actual flat damage to increase. We have opted for the powerful Rakiata's Dance Sword, but it's also possible to get the Forbidden Shaco with a high-level Ice Bite. That would be, however, too expensive. With Fortification, any incoming hit damage is already nearly halved. On top of that, the build has very high armor and evasion, high spell suppression, and reduced physical damage taken. The high attack speed combined with a Leech Mastery for instant leech provides rapid life recovery. It's still a melee strike build, but with the Herald of Ice the clear speed is great. Single target damage is high, over 10 and even up to 20 million DPS. The price of this build is high, mostly because of the jewelry. There is more than one way to gear up the character, but the most important are the Celestial Brace Gloves, Replica Badge of the Brotherhood Amulet, and Ralakesh's Impatience Boots. It's the foundation of the build. All the other items derive from the synergy between them. After that, it's all about maximum frenzy charges and a source of flat damage. Forbidden Shaco with a high-level Ice Bite gets prohibitively expensive, but it can be a great choice on account of your high number of frenzy charges. Cane of Kulamak with increased attack speed, elemental penetration, and increased cold damage may be excellent if you already have a source of flat cold damage, for example, Ice Bite support. Replica Covenant would introduce too many problems, but it too can work. Rakiata's Dance makes you deal a lot of cold and lightning damage with no need for resistance penetration. It's actually great in maps where enemies have their resistance high, which happens often. Use it if you lack a meaningful source of flat damage. The Restless Ward presents itself with a much needed movement speed, some life regeneration, and maximum life. It's a fine choice given your boots grant you no movement speed, but if that is no issue, replace it with a rare body armor or Diala's Malefaction. Frenzy, the skill, scales really well with gem quality, given you have a lot of frenzy charges, which you do. It makes the green sockets in Diala's Malefaction very appealing. You have the ability to generate all of the charges when mapping, but you can also lose them quickly, and scrambling to gain them back during boss fights is not ideal, so Ralakesh's Impatience should be mandatory. The basic 20 fortification can be enhanced by an additional 10 with the Celestial Brace Gloves, which also generate Fortify on melee strike hits. You can reach nearly 50 fortification with other items and passives. It results in increased attack speed. Corrupted Gloves can give you 1 additional maximum frenzy charge, and obtaining such a pair should be one of your priorities. You can generate brutal charges with Enduring Cry or Endurance Charge on melee stun. Each brutal charge grants a 3% chance to deal triple damage. It's one of the best belts for builds with around 10 endurance charges, and finding a substitute that comes even close to that in terms of DPS is hard. You can corrupt it for a chance for extra elemental resistances. The Replica Badge of the Brotherhood provides you with maximum endurance charges equal to your maximum frenzy charges. Each endurance charge grants +1 maximum fortification, which this build also stacks. The attributes and increased cooldown for Frostblink are other minor boons. If you want to use the Precursor's emblem, it should have some useful stats related to endurance or frenzy charges. The +1 maximum frenzy charge mod is expensive, so if you have such a ring, mirror it with Calandra's Touch. When it comes to rings with maximum frenzy charge on them, circle rings are the cheapest as they always drop with a synthesized implicit. They're a good reason to use Herald of Ice or Thunder. If you deal high cold or mixed cold damage, we recommend Secrets of Suffering from the Interrogation to brittle your enemies. Scorch and Sap are also great, while Shock and Chill can be applied with Skitterbots. Large Ring Thread of Hope socketed near Savagery lets you allocate Mana Flows, Art of the Gladiator, Panopticon, Rampart, and Master of the Arena. Dance with Death from Asenath's variant of Brutal Restraint may be good in some cases. Your low crit chance and high damage roll range with volatility support and lightning damage from Rakiata's Dance can make it a great option. If you can afford to give up Determination and Precision, get Sublime Vision for much more evasion, which can easily be transmogrified into armor with Iron Reflexes, and one additional maximum frenzy charge. You're using Grace, Determination, and Precision. On a Watcher's Eye, Grace and Determination may get you good defensive stats, but Precision can roll attack speed, critical strike multiplier, or flask charge on critical strike. Items for maximum frenzy charges are very expensive. It's the main reason for the overall high price of this build. It's possible to use only unique items, but that institutes a whole set of attribute and resistance related issues, the stats you should prioritize on rare items. Rare Blizzard Crown is great, especially with Rakiata's Dance. It should grant you the basic defensive stats, but you can also seek Shaper's Suffix that causes nearby enemies to receive increased elemental damage, or Shaper's Prefix for one additional maximum power charge. Use a rare sword or a claw only if you want to pair it up with a shield with a +1 max frenzy charge. Such weapons should have high elemental DPS with critical strike modifiers. A synthesized shield with +1 max frenzy charge is the most expensive item on the list, so we recommend it only for committed players. It should have the basic defensive mods and increased damage of a specific element if it's a pure INT shield. A ring with synthesized max frenzy charge is your best option. These are always very expensive, but eventually you will have to get something like that. Get the basic maximum life, resistances, attributes, and craft reduced mana cost of skills. Jewels should patch up your resistances and attributes. After that, look for critical strike chance and multiplier. Each jewel must also have a modifier for increased maximum life. Attack, elemental, or a cluster jewel for your specific weapon with passives for missing stats or powerful notables will do. It's optional, but likely necessary. Starlight Chalice applies exposure which reduces elemental resistance. It increases the effect of non-damaging ailments which can be of use. Exposure may also be applied with Hydrosphere if you can spare a socket and a button for it. Don't use it with Rakiata's Dance. All of the Bottled Faith stats are great: Consecrated Ground, increased damage, and critical strikes chance. Choose a diamond, silver, jade, and granite or quartz flask. Their suffixes should increase your evasion, armor, attack speed, and critical strike chance. You may also need a life flask just in case there's something you can't leech from. Frenzy is the strike attack that scales up its attack speed and damage with frenzy charges. Link it up with multi-strike and endurance charge on melee stun. Elemental damage with attacks and enhance are other very good support gems. Ice Bite should be present in Forbidden Shako as it's not as strong in its default form. You can pair it up with Cold to Fire to Scorch with Secrets of Suffering. Volatility is good in Rakiata's Dance, and Inspiration may be implemented to lower mana cost and increase damage. Use Grace for added and increased evasion rating for a higher chance of evading attacks. Determination can be used for added and increased armor rating to reduce physical hit damage. If you have the Sublime Vision, you'll have to replace it with something like Arctic Armor. Defiance Banner increases evasion and armor. Nearby enemies have reduced critical strike chance. With Sublime Vision, you will have to replace it with Aspect of the Cat or Aspect of the Crab. These are from items, not gems. Skitterbots are to be used if you have Secrets of Suffering allocated. They will chill and shock. If you don't have this keystone, It can be replaced with Herald of Ice or Herald of Thunder, depending on your gear pieces. Precision adds accuracy and increases critical strike chance. You should be able to level it up quite high, maybe even up to level 20. Link these mana reserving skills with enhanced support. Enemy marked with Assassin's Mark takes increased critical damage, and strikes against them are more likely to be critical. Link it with Mark on hit support and life tap. In the same setup, you can socket Molten Shell and cast when damage taken. Molten Shell is a guard spell that absorbs a portion of incoming hit damage. It scales up with armor, which you should have a lot of. Ancestral Protector grants more attack speed for as long as it stays active. Val Ancestral Warchief grants more melee damage. The Val version has more totem life, and the buff effect is improved. Link both of these totem skills with multiple totem support. Your low movement speed is not a big problem if you use Leap Slam to move around. Link it with Life Tap if you have the opportunity to do so. If you can apply 2 curses thanks to Whispers of Doom on the amulet, and if you don't use Rakiata's Dance, cast Elemental Weakness manually. Blood Rage is used mainly for increased attack speed. You already have Life Leech and Frenzy charges. Kill all 3 bandits in Act 2 and gain 2 additional passive skill points. For your major god pick Soul of Lunaris, it grants movement speed and physical damage reduction in crowded areas. It offers protection against projectiles too, which is good for a melee build. There are not that many useful minor gods. All ailments on you have their duration reduced significantly, and damage over time is not something to be concerned with. Soul of Ugul seems good. It reduces the effect of curses on you by 30% after an upgrade. You can even combine it with an Elemental Mastery for 60% reduced reflected elemental damage taken to completely negate reflected elemental damage. On the passive skill tree, you will need to gather all the maximum frenzy charges, allocate maximum life and reservation efficiency that's on your way. Elemental damage, suppression chance, accuracy, armor, evasion, and critical strike nodes are great as well. Don't forget about the Clever Thief Leech Cluster, Tribal Fury, and Steadfast Notables. For masteries, get Mana Mastery for reservation efficiency, Life Mastery that makes skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost, Leech Mastery for instant leech, Fortify Mastery with 2% reduced duration of ailments inflicted on you per fortification, Suppression for lucky spell suppression chance, Charge Mastery with 3% increased damage per charge, Critical Mastery with crit multiplier against unique enemies, Attack Mastery with additional targeting for non-Val strikes, and lastly, Armor and Evasion Mastery for 8% increased evasion rating per frenzy charge and 8% increased armor per endurance charge. That is all for this guide. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.